Hi, this is Esther Lynn for MMAfighting.com, and I'd like to share some of my favorite photos from 2014. The year began in Chicago, the same as the previous few years, at CM Punk's house with Ariel's now annual interview. It kicked off our fight week and our fight year. Fight weeks almost always begin with an open workout, and this year, they were held in a variety of beautiful spaces from Mexico City's Interactive Museum of Economics to the Royal Hospital Kilmainham in Dublin, where Conor McGregor marched shirtless to the octagon in the center of this historic room, as if he knew he'd be written into its stories. A workout was even held in EA Sports' Vancouver Capture Lab. The lights around the room make for a spectacularly futuristic setting. I spent some time shooting in gyms as well, with glory kickboxers like Joe Schilling, and honed my lighting setups with fighters like Kylan Curran. Here, I'm at Glendale Fight Club for a Ronda Rousey media workout prior to her fight against Sarah McMahon. I remember squeezing in for a clean shot. There were so many cameras. Or the champ would have a public workout like this one in Las Vegas. There to cheer her on would be such sweet, lovely fans, eyes full of tears and admiration. Sometimes I'm fortunate to follow one fighter around, like in Dallas, I watched Carlos Condit prepare for his fight against Tyron Woodley. And I even noticed we have the same resting habit, the tree pose, or as I like to call it, flamingo. I sit and observe while two friends in different weight classes shadow box in this hotel meeting room, mirrored in their determination and movement. After workouts, there are press conferences and days full of an endless rotation of interviews. I try to grab individual portraits of each fighter during these rounds. Some are funny, some are solemn, expressionless, and sometimes I am reunited with old pals from my work at Invicta. Here is Jessica Penne smiling a week before her fight on the Ultimate Fighter Season 20 finale. Or, I'll ask for a portrait and my specific requests are met with specific responses, where in this case, I had in mind perhaps a jacket over the shoulder while leaning against the wall, but McGregor let me know that he doesn't lean. During the madness of his first UFC fight week, Pat Cummins takes a meal break in front of a giant picture of himself. He's been on the roster for just a few days now, and while he lost his debut against Cormier, he would round out his first year with 3 wins. Here is Sarah McMahon before her title challenge, waiting at the makeup table for her turn in the video shoot. And this year, we attended a press conference for a fight that never happened. I also spent time with Daniel Cormier on his first cut to light heavyweight, from the sauna to the meal he had with his family after his successful weigh-in. I felt especially honored this week because I had shot both him and his opponent Cummins' pro debuts. It was special to be led into such a stressful time for so many fighters, though Cormier didn't seem too worried at any point as the cut went very smoothly. Weigh-in day is that last bit of excitement to close out the pre-fight festivities, and here the crowd goes wild as Rousey and Davis face off at UFC 175. Following their wild turnout at home, the Irish fans invaded Las Vegas and made it feel like we were back in Dublin. And Conor McGregor fueled their fire further when Poirier weighed in and Conor posed beside him defiantly. Weigh-ins are fun too, with Roxanne Modafferi showing a side of her we'd never seen in her Princess Leia outfit against Andrea Lee. And in the really electric matchups, we're treated to some fiery animosity as Kat Zingano and Amanda Nunes refuse to break their stare, same with Robbie Lawler and Jake Ellenberger, their cheeks sinking in as they narrowed their eyes. There are times in our hectic fight weeks when news breaks late. Here is ESPN's Brett Okamoto on the phone behind the weigh-in stage at the arena in Sacramento after finding out that Renan Barão would no longer be fighting TJ Dillashaw. I love the primary colors of this image. And after a big meal to put some weight back on, Cub Swanson takes a moment to enjoy the sights and sounds of a city like Austin, with cast and crew from the show Kingdom. Traveling around for fights allowed us to begin our mixed martial arts feature, where we film fighters with their furry best friends. This year, we hung out with Arlovsky and Maximus, Kedzie and Bailey. And of the many places I was fortunate to visit this year, it was magical to climb the pyramids of Teotihuacan as the sun rose over Mexico. There was a peace in this journey, augmented by the thick fog and perfect quiet. I was ready for fight night. There are many ways in which humans prepare themselves for battle. Here, Tanya Evinger ties her hair before her fight against Adrienne Gomez. Evinger always does her own hair before her fights, and it seems a methodical, useful, and calming ritual. Erica Tiburcio arrived at the arena on fight day bursting with joy in every direction. The young Brazilian did not seem nervous for her crack at the Invicta Championship. She stood here in front of the walkout for a long time, soaking in the lights of an empty theater, and then taking pictures with a few fans who had arrived early for the first bout, and then taking dozens of photos with her coaches for herself as well. In contrast, Ronda Rousey is arriving at the Mandalay Bay, game face already wired. Task at hand, her only focus for the next many hours until the fight is over. A fight is so many people outside of just the two in the cage. Here is Bruce Buffer arriving at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I snapped this with my phone. I tried to imagine what must be going through his mind. Before TJ Dillashaw would defend his title against the newly chosen challenger, Joe Soto, I passed this lonely TV on my way into the arena. Renan Barão would be subjected to what looked here to be a public shaming. Inside the O2 in Dublin, the fans held up their cameras and phones, eagerly awaiting the notorious Conor McGregor's entrance. Here, Michelle Waterson waits in the tunnel, behind the spotlights, for her turn to walk out. Tito Ortiz employed a team of children to lead him out to his fight against Flamenco in May. And once they're in the cage, they wait, cool as a cucumber. Or deathly still. Carla Esparza seems rigid, either filled with fear or completely without all feeling, staring across at the bouncing Rose Namajunas. Bruce Buffer calls TJ Dillashaw's name and he calls right back, echoing the wild excitement in the air. And then the fight begins. Throughout the year there were many great battles, filled with shins against chins and punch faces galore. There were so many, I am just going to file through them quickly, reliving each one as the image passes. There was some gorgeous violence this past year. I didn't shoot nearly as many bouts in 2014, but I had no shortage of sweat and blood flying. I watched former champions get ragdolled, and we finished the year with strawweights, a new division full of thrilling fighters, and a new champion, Carla Esparza. There was so much raw emotion roaring from exhausted, overjoyed lungs. There were even tears in victory. There were many last-minute reversals of fortune, and many upsets. This one, I think, is one of the biggest upsets of 2014. Tiburcio is screaming, and you can see Waterson's hand blurred as she taps. And then they embraced as hard as they had fought. And then again, that joy that is so intense it borders on pain, but visibly different than the loss that Waterson is feeling. We saw veterans regain their ground and come back from the edge of their careers. And there was so much love and pride beaming from friends, corners, the love of a nation, even. There would be friends there with comfort, especially in a traumatic loss. A win is an opportunity, and in this case, Cormier's opportunity to call out light heavyweight champion Jon Jones. If I could intercept a fighter on their way out of the cage, it was usually memorable. When I was stuck in the press room, I made sure to grab portraits of the victors as they came through for interviews. Some had bruised and bloody faces, some were still lost in thought, and perhaps still hurting from their fights. Some fighters managed to walk away without a mark, their evidence of having been in a fight, that enormous beaming pride of victory. Alexa Grasso pointed out she was unscathed because we had photographed her after a fight in September where she had a swollen eye and reluctant to have her picture taken. This time, she was quite happy to stop for a photo. I was particularly grateful to take this portrait of Josh Saman after his beautiful head kick knockout at UFC 181. My eyes filled with tears as he spoke with me, and I thought of his hardships. This was so much more than just a win on his record. There are so many varied emotions in a post-fight press conference. The smile of a bonus winner, the disappointment of not quite doing enough, to have a title so close to your fingers and stew just across the podium from the reigning champ, and that sting of having just lost and sitting here answering questions. In close fights, most fighters would simmer silently, but Mo Lawal and Rampage Jackson went at it. The tension boiled over the press conference. After sitting on the dais with one's wounds, there came a time to start to close them, to congratulate the winner, to take each step forward. I'll never forget that breakdown that had the press room in tears. BJ Penn's retirement was not unexpected, yet that did not lessen the difficulty of such a moment. Champions stand tall, smiling with that heavy metal over their shoulders, that weight a reminder of a fighter's accomplishment, one's greatness. Erica Tiburcio shined. Even in this dim hotel room, the tiny champion radiated. One of my favorite post-fight portraits this past year was Leslie Smith, who lost but had so much to be proud of, who gained fans and adoration for her grit and determination. And earlier disappointments were avenged, as Robbie Lawler came back from his loss to Johnny Hendricks in March to close the year the new welterweight champion. As we began the year, we close it with CM Punk, or rather, the newly signed UFC fighter Phil Brooks, which feels really weird to say, but kinda awesome. Here's to 2014, to its heartbreak, pain, and loss, to its sweet victories and new champions. To the year ahead, I hope for fun fights all over the world, dazzling displays of skill and heart, and to bring you as much of all of that as I can. This is Esther Lynn for MMAfighting.com, and thank you for watching. Happy New Year.